Greetings, Internet.
Hey, everybody.
It's the last Spoilercast for Season 4 of Game of Thrones.
Season
on
4.
The Podcast of Doom.
Podcast of Doom.
Episode
Season
10.
4.
The Children.
The Children.
We're making robot movements and noises, even though this is a fantasy.
Error. Error. Lots of people dying.
I feel nothing. Okay. that bit went about as long as it can go.
So yeah, a lot happened in this final episode.
So yeah, Valor Morghulis.
Yeah.
All men must die.
All men
as
must
this episode proved to us, as literally every other man died.
Oh, so much to start. Let's start with right after the continuation of the battle at the Wall of the North. That's where the episode starts.
Let's pick it up where it picks it up.
We'll go there.
We'll ride that story for all it's worth. Like a horse in Stannis' army.
Oh!
Yay!
That makes so much sense. So Stannis shows up in the north, right?
Only after Jon hangs out in Mance's tent, gets drunk, eats some food, and then Mance basically tells him, look, we're not here to kill anybody. We're just here to hide behind your wall because we are fucking terrified of what's coming behind us.
We know what's coming.
Yes, we do. And so
we don't want to kill anyone else.
So does Jon.
You open up the gate, we'll walk through, and that's that.
Yeah. We won't kill any of you, you won't kill any of us, and we will hide on the other side of the wall with you. Fuck, we'll probably even help you defend it, to be honest.
Except them cannibals. Them cannibals are going to be eating some people.
Yeah, well, would you rather have human cannibals or undead cannibals?
It's true.
I'll take my chances with the human cannibals.
Well, we haven't seen the White Walkers try to eat anyone yet. We've just seen them try to kill people.
Right, but I think you can handle a cannibal easier than you can handle a white.
Yeah, I guess that's true.
I mean, we saw how hard it was to kill them.
You can reason with man.
Yeah.
You can't reason with the dead. At least as far as we've seen.
Remember in Season 1 when those two whites rose? How fucking hard it was to take those down? Those are just two of them. Can you imagine having an entire tribe of cannibal whites?
No, that would be ridiculous.
It's bad news.
Bad news bears. It's bad news bears.
Yeah, it seems like Jon and him were talking, and Jon was considering what he was going to say, and then, boom, Stannis rolls in to save the day a day late.
Right.
Which, still, though, he's the only guy that showed up.
He was not a dollar short, though, because he got his money from the banks of Bravos.
Yeah, he was definitely a day late, but not a dollar short. He got his money worth, because he pulled a classic pincher movement on their camp, and they were just completely boned.
They completely just run through.
Yeah.
Meets up with Jon Snow.
Yeah, and which is interesting, it's the one thing I think, as prickly as Stannis' character can be, he does listen to people. Like,
right.
He doesn't care where you came from, if you're a bastard or a lord or a smuggler. If you have an opinion, he wants to hear it, and then he's going to take into consideration that opinion, and if he thinks it's a good idea, he's going to go with it. He doesn't have that pride thing, like where he's the king, so everybody does what he says. He's willing to listen to Jon Snow within a minute of meeting him for the first time in his life, just because he's like, okay, this is Ned Stark's son. I know how Ned Stark raises his children. I know who he was. I trusted Ned Stark, so I'll listen to what the boy has to say because I have this trust with his family.
Right.
And sure enough, he listens to Jon. He's like, all right, this is. I'll spare Mance's life. We'll take everybody prisoner, and then we'll decide what to do after that.
Right.
And then Jon tells him, well, make sure you burn all the bodies before dark.
Right.
And then, Stannis gives him that look where he's like, bitch, I was going to do that anyway for the Lord of Light. But, yeah. So
that's what happened there. They ended up burning all the crows.
Yeah, which was actually a lot more sad than I thought it would be. Like, that, just like hearing the whole thing and now their watch ends, and then seeing them, seeing Pip and Gren's dead body and then lighting the pyre. I was actually feeling like really sad. I'm like, oh, they're really gone.
And then through the fire and the flames, we see Jon Snow and the Red Priestess.
Yeah, Melisandre.
Lock eyes through the fire.
Yeah. So that's gonna be some hot shit.
Something's coming up with that.
Hot shit.
Something's coming up with that.
And then Jon also talks to Tormund and tells him, you're not going to be tortured. I don't know what's going to happen to you.
Right.
We've never had prisoners here before.
Right.
And then
he was tied up in his storeroom, if I believe it.
Yeah, he's just tied up in with a closet somewhere. And he tells Jon that you great love to him, and that if he's going to, burn her body to make sure he does it in the true North.
Right.
Because she was a free folk.
She was from the North.
So Jon does that. He takes her body north, builds a pyre, and burns it, and then can't even bear to watch and walks away.
Right.
So, poor Jon. He's had a rough go, but now with King Stannis up there, hopefully things might get a little easier. You know, at least there's... And again, all credit where credit's due. None of the other kings, so-called, even batted an eye when they saw that the ravens that they were sending out saying that we need you to focus all your forces and all your men up here because shit's getting real.
Right.
Stannis
did. Stannis came through.
And it was because Melisandre, you know...
That's why. I think it's because Melisandre...
She read it in the flames. She said, you know, your true war lies up north. Darkness is descending. So that's where we go. And sure enough, he got the money, he got his ships and his army, and he went.
Right.
He didn't hang around Dragonstone. He just like, fuck it, we're out of here. And so that's, you know, it's impressive, you know, for all the faults his character has, and he's very unlikable. He was the only dude that cared enough to show up.
Well, Stannis, I wouldn't say he's unlikable. He's just a fucking hard ass.
Yeah.
He's a rock. You can't read him.
Yeah, it definitely seems like he's got his priorities straight, though.
Right now it does, yes.
Because I think his thought was, well, what fucking good is it to sit on the throne in King's Landing if the wall is breached and we have the undead and wildlings just pouring in?
Right.
You know, what good is this Iron Throne if half the kingdom is overrun?
Right, exactly.
So, you know, he's got the strategy. It looks like he's going to secure the north and then move southwards. And, you know, here's the thing. I can guarantee you that most of the people in the north don't like the Boltons. They don't like the Freys.
Oh, yeah, probably
So
not.
King Stannis shows up and says, join me, I will fight these fuckers.
Right.
And we're going to go all the way to King's Landing. He's probably going to pick up a lot of those families that were loyal to Robb Stark.
Right. Exactly. Especially if they can get Jon Snow on his...
And it's like, not because he's a charming guy, but because he's the better of the options.
It's like,
he's
King's Landing left you up here with those White Walkers. I was here to defend you.
He's the least hated of all the possible options at the moment. So, you know, fuck the Greyjoys. Fuck the Lannisters.
Right.
Stannis Baratheon? Okay.
Okay.
He's got a weird god, but whatever.
Exactly.
He's here. He's here right now. They're not.
Speaking of gods, he's had some more stuff happen up north of the wall in this episode.
Yes. Some very tragic and exciting stuff.
This is true.
Another variation from the book. Jojen Reed died via skeleton attack.
And fireball explosion.
Well, he was already dead by then.
Right, that's true.
The fireball explosion was to keep him from turning. Okay,
so let's backtrack a little here and get back on. They got to the tree.
Yeah.
The group of north of Bran, Hodor, and the other two. I can't remember their fucking names.
Jojen and Mira. The Reeds. Which, fun fact, Moat Cailin, the place that Ramsay and Theon took, that was their base.
Oh, okay.
Actually, no, I'm wrong. No, they're from what is it? Greenwatch Keep. That's Moat Cailin's different. Forget what I just said. They're from a different place, but in the same area. They're from like the moors and the swamplands.
Right.
So they came all that way, and then they're walking towards the tree and the little tunnel underneath it. The secret tunnel
under the tree.
And then boom, out from the snow pop these fucking skeleton zombies.
They were skeletons.
It was like some Jason the Argonaut shit there.
It was
fun.
I was really impressed with the CGI of this. I don't know why I was doubting that it would be bad. Maybe because I watched too many sci-fi TV shows. But
well, they got a limited budget too.
They do.
Yeah,
well, they probably put a lot of money towards the budget for this.
So can you imagine the budget they have on just the dragons alone?
Right. And but that's the other thing. I shouldn't probably have felt that bad because the dragons don't look that bad.
No, the wolves look good. They have to upscale all those wolves.
And so, like, I don't know, like, seeing them, I was like, wow, that's a really good effect for some whatever reason. I don't know why.
They use their budget well, but so we got a very cool, almost classic-looking skeletons versus humans fighting it out in the snow. The humans were losing, and then Bran warged into Hodor, and he became the fucking wrecking ball. But then, there were, like, skeletons coming at Bran's body, which was completely prone. And everybody's screaming, save yourself. And then, of course, Summer saves the day. Right when the skeleton's going to try to get Bran, Summer jumps in and, in a poof of snow, all of a sudden all the skeletons like busted apart.
Skeleton gone.
But unfortunately, while Jojen was focusing on Bran, the skeleton that was laying on the ground next to him took a dagger out and then just perforated Jojen.
Perforated him, yeah. He probably stabbed him a good 6 times.
Yeah.
6, 7 times.
And then, just when all hope is lost, Mira's mourning Jojen, Bran's no longer in Hodor, and Summer's currently, sharpening her teeth on a femur or something.
On a skeleton.
One of the children of the forest shows up underneath the tree and fireballs the fuck out of the skeletons.
Right.
Gets them all in. Tells Mira that Jojen's lost, has to leave him behind, and then the fireballs hit him too.
She slit his throat. Is that what was implied?
Yeah, she slit his throat so that he wouldn't
suffer.
Yeah. She wanted to make sure he was dead.
Right. And then
she didn't want to leave him out there still alive.
Right. And then he got blown up by a fireball because you got to burn the bodies. We don't want to see him come back as a White Walker.
We certainly do. And so they entered the cave under the tree, which is the power that whatever's the skeletons controls them can't reach in there. So the skeletons were running in and they just kind of fall apart as soon as they run in, which was funny.
Just kind of exploded. They almost exploded. They didn't really just fall apart.
Because they were running. They were running full tilt, and all of a sudden the stuff that keeps them
held together
just disintegrated, so the bones just went
flying into the cave behind them.
Yeah. So they get to the center, the roots of the tree, and there's this old man, it's almost like a throne of roots, but it looks like the roots are going into his body and stuff, and he's part of the tree. And it's the guy who was controlling the three-eyed raven.
Right.
And Brandon, they have a little conversation, a lot of kind of prophetic,
it's very,
stuff.
It's very...
Not very direct.
Yeah.
But basically the gist of it, the last line was, you'll never walk again, but you will fly.
He's like, you'll give me my legs back, I'll be able to walk. It's like, no, you will never walk again, but you will be able to fly.
So... things are looking up for Bran, I guess. At least they're safe. They're somewhere safe. We got to see the children of the forest. That was so cool.
That was cool.
They're child size, but
the end of this season brought magic to the world of Westeros.
Yeah, well, it's been there.
Yes, yeah.
Melisandre,
is
straight up magic.
Right, that's true.
With the shadow babies and shit.
But I mean, when I say magic, I mean D&D fireballs, elves, and.
We got to see some caster shit going on.
Right.
Speaking of magic, over in the other side of the world, Daenerys is still trying to learn what it means to be a queen and why basically is the most thankless job in the world.
Right.
Because she frees all the slaves. Everybody's equal. And then she has a former slave coming back saying, I want you to give me permission to sell myself back to my master because now
he treated me well.
He treated me well. I was a teacher and I was beloved by his children. But now I get beat up for my food and money, and I'm sleeping in the streets.
Right.
And she realized that, he explained to her, he's like, the young ones, sure, they embrace the revolution, but the old of us, we can't change. Mm-hmm. So we need you to give us the option to what we're comfortable doing. And then she says, fine, you can sign a contract, but it can't be more than a year.
Right.
So basically indentured servitude now instead of straight up slavery.
Right.
So close to, but not exactly. Basically, not slavery in name only.
Right.
So she does that. She realizes that, hey, you're right. That I have to give people some flexibility to live their lives, the freedom to live how they want to live. Right. If they choose to enslave themselves or be, property, then that's their choice. It's their life.
Right.
Which was smart. Very smart move.
What I didn't understand is why, she could have been you can go work for him for room and board.
Because the masters won't pay.
Well, I'm saying he's like, I'm homeless. It's like, well, you can continue working for me and tutoring my kids. I guess that comes in the whole contract thing. But.
Yeah, that's the contract. Basically, we'll provide you room, board, and food in exchange for these services to our family.
Right.
So basically, that's what's going to happen. But it's going to be a written contract, whatever.
And the masters will probably try to find loopholes. I'm sure.
Oh, no doubt. That's all they've ever done. But then the next guy was not so that one came up Black Dragon
to death. Yes.
So Daenerys had to make they don't know where Drogon's wild.
They said they haven't seen him in 3 days.
But the good ones, the Mama's boys, the green and the white dragon, she ended up luring to the catacombs with like fresh, lambs or whatever, and then she chained them up. And that was honestly the saddest thing. Was like as she's walking away and they realize that she's leaving them behind, and they're chained up. They just start screaming,
like screeching at her, yeah.
And it isn't like an anger scream. It's like a painful scream. You're like, and then you start feeling really, really sad. And you're like, these are CGI dragons, and they're screaming because their moms are basically leaving them locked up in a dungeon.
Right.
And you feel so bad. And that is in the books. I mean, that whole thing. You remember, because right when I saw the guy walking with a bundle, I'm like, oh shit, they're doing this.
Yeah. This is happening now?
Yeah, this is happening right now. And sure enough, that's what she ends up doing. In the books, she gets all three. Like, she uses, there's, this big, cavernous area underneath the pyramid that she gets all three in. But then, this one, I think they're just kind of, expediting stuff that happens later on.
Right.
It feels like this was done intentionally to save time later. And without giving too much of the spoilers away, but it's significant that the black one is still loose.
It's still loose.
Yeah.
I gotcha.
So that's significant, and I think I understand why they're doing it. And I wonder if that means a certain character is not going to make it into the show at all, because there's a few characters that we haven't seen at all that were in the books.
It's possible, they gotta try to cull, these giant books down into
they got
10-hour seasons.
They got X amount of money from HBO. They gotta have dragons and dire wolves and magic, and so they fucking skeletons and White Walkers. Each season as it goes now is going to get more CGI heavy,
right?
Because there's going to be more shit happening that you can't just do physically,
right?
Less sword fights and more magical shit. So it makes sense that they're going to try to find a way to kind of cut corners of storylines that maybe aren't crucial to the plot. Right. They add flavor and depth, but they aren't essential to the narrative.
Right.
And I understand that. I'm not going to be one of those fans that's going to be like, oh, you changed this. How dare you?
How dare you?
Because as we saw, I was a huge fan of Brienne and the Hound fighting it out.
Yes, that was amazing.
That was one of those things from reading the books. They never meet. They never cross paths ever.
Right.
And then it was always one of those things, who would, those fantasy fights. Who would win in a fight? Brienne Tarth or the Hound?
Or the Hound.
Brienne Tarth won.
It was a hell of a fight, though.
Wow. Yeah.
I will give him that.
It started out like a clean fight. They were both making airs at being knights, and then he was the first one to kind of break that by punching her. And then, it just went on. She bit his ear off. He gave her a cunt punt.
She punched him square in the nuts, uppercut him in the nuts.
She grabbed a rock and started bashing his head.
They had a drag-out fight.
Yeah, man. I mean, it was a nasty rolling around in the dirt, fighting each other, scratching and punching. And eventually she pushed him over a little cliff edge. Not a big one, but long enough to break his leg.
Right.
And, so what led to that fight was that, Brienne came upon Arya. And then when she saw, the Hound came out, then Padre's like, that's the Hound. Right. And then Brienne put two and two together thanks to Hot Pie.
You're Arya Stark.
Arya, Jesus, come here. Come with me.
Come with me.
And Arya's like, no. Because they point out that she's got a Lannister sword.
Right. Yeah, she has quote unquote been paid by the Lannisters to find Arya. And the Hound realizes that.
Yeah, and what's funny is he got all fucking noble and shit. He's like, are you gonna be able to protect her? Her mom's dead. Her aunt's dead. Her father's dead. Her brother's dead.
She's like, I'll take you to safety. Where are you going to take her? Where is safety? Yeah,
it's like you can't answer that. So you can't watch over her because you don't know. And then Brienne's like, well, you're watching over her? And the Hound's like, yeah, I am. So this was after what happened to the Bloody Gate.
Right.
He's basically in his own heart, in his mind, basically adopted Arya almost.
Right, pretty much.
He's like, I will watch out for her. I'm not going to let anything happen to you.
Right.
But then, egos being what they are, Brienne and Hound basically fight over her, and Arya just gets away in the confusion.
Yeah, she hides because she's like, why weren't you watching her, Podrick?
Yeah.
I thought you might need help. I was watching her fight.
So Arya comes back around to find the Hound laying there, bloody, broken, and the Hound begs her to kill him. Straight up does beg her. And it's a very, very sad sight because he's like, I have no happy memories. And he's talking about, well, maybe I should have fucked your sister before I left.
He's trying to egg her.
He's trying to egg her. He doesn't mean it. He would never have done that. He was way more noble than he gave himself credit for. And he's trying to egg her on. because he's on her list. But
Right.
instead, she just takes his coin pouch and just walks off and leaves him.
Leaves him to die a slow, agonizing death.
Yeah, which it's almost worse. It's like, yeah, he's on the list. And she's like, well, I'm not going to give you a merciful death.
Right.
You're going to sit out here and you're going to dehydrate and you're going to bleed out and you're going to rot. And I feel really bad for him. Like, yeah, he's done some bad shit, but man, he deserves better than that.
Right.
Yeah.
My problem was, like, I thought it was going to be, like, this whole nice moment, like, you looked out for me. I'll put you out of your misery. And it wasn't.
No, it was interesting.
She was cold.
She just sat there and just stared at him, like,
do his whole
unblinking,
thing.
no expression, just, like, hearing him out. And then she finally gets up and then just takes his coin purse and just walks off.
He's, like, yelling, tell me!
And you can see that look on his face.
Away.
As he took the coin purse, he had a look of pure...
He tried to grab her arm. He's like, no!
This pure desperation and terror. Like, no, don't leave me alone. I don't want to die alone. Like, he had that look. Like, it was intense. And then tracking ahead to the end of the episode with her, she comes upon a tiny little harbor town, which I know from my book knowledge, and the piles of salt everywhere, it's salt flats.
Right.
Although Danny called it pepper flats just to annoy me.
It's salt flats. What do you think they mine there? Like peppercorn?
And I'm like, fucking Danny. But she finds a boat. She's like, take me to the wall. I can pay. He's like, I ain't going to the fucking wall. There's nothing up there but war and ice and pirates.
Right.
And then he's like,
well, where are you going?
Yeah.
And he's like, I'm going to Bravos. I'm going home. I'm going to Bravos.
And then she remembers the coin that she got from Jaqen H'ghar in season 2.
Yes.
So she breaks out the coin. He's like, look, I don't want any gold. She's like, it's not gold. It's iron.
And he's like, he freaked. Like, you could tell he turned
like,
as soon as he saw it.
His face, like, paled. His jaw drops. Like, where did you get this? She goes, Valar Morghulis.
And he's like, of course, you get a cabin. You can come with us.
Yeah. So she has departed Westeros.
So she's gone. She's on the sea at the moment.
Yeah. Heading to Bravos, the city of water dancers and the Iron Bank and every religion in all of the world.
Yes.
So pretty crazy. And Arya, and it was interesting because you listen to that conversation between Brienne and Hound. She kind of realized, I have nowhere to go. I can't even go to the wall.
Right.
Like, that's her last ditch, but she's like,
Go to John, yeah.
Her heart wasn't really in it. And so she's like, you know what? I'm just going to get the fuck out of this continent completely.
It's like, fuck this place. And everyone that dies in this fucking place.
Yeah, which is like everybody.
Which is everybody.
Everybody dies. All men must die. And
All
then...
men must die.
Yeah.
So what happened with the Starks in this episode? Let's start with the conversation between the Hand and his daughter, shall we? We'll start there.
What? Oh, you mean the
you can't start with the big flash and show. You gotta build up to it.
You mean the Lannisters?
Yes.
You said the Starks, and I was like,
oh,
I thought you were like being.
Excuse me, no,
I thought you were
Lannisters.
being cruel. Like, what happened to the Starks? Well, you damn know well nothing happened. They're all dead.
No, the Lannisters. Excuse me.
Okay, I thought you were playing some kind of cruel joke on me. I'm like, it's not funny.
Right.
There's no Starks.
You're like, wait, what?
That's
not cool.
There's no Starks left, man. It's not cool. Okay, yeah, the Lannisters.
So Tywin.
Yeah,
the Hand himself.
Cersei straight up like, it's like, I'm not marrying Loras because I fucked Jaime. Guess what? It's true. And he's like, no.
That's preposterous.
Yeah.
As at least that's why I like to think he acted.
No,
like.
I think Charles Dance, if anything, his skin actually got tighter on his face. Like, he was just staring at her, like, and his skin just went.
He's like, I'm not marrying him, and I'll tell everyone.
Yeah, I'll tell everyone. And then what does she do? She goes to Jaime, and then they do a victory lap, basically. She's like, Dad knows. He's like, what? And then she's like, yeah, so, hey, I love you, I choose you. And then
those are just words. He's like, well, then let me show you.
She like starts making out with his gold hand. And then he's like, okay, this shit just got real. And then he pulls her up, and then they do the, like I said, they do a victory lap there in the Kingsguard chambers on the table. So they're together again.
Yeah, they're back together again.
Apparently Cersei just being completely reckless really turns both of them on.
I guess so, yeah.
I have to give her props though. She straight up just went fucking 100% balling on this one. She's like,
you're not taking me from my son.
It's like she walked down the corridors of King's Landing, both middle fingers in the air, just like doing the fucking pimp strut. 2 middle fingers to the world.
Right.
Like, I don't give a fuck. You can't control me. You don't control this. pointing at her vag.
And then Jamie was like, well, you can't kill your brother.
She's like, of course I can.
It's like, I hate him. He killed my mother.
Yeah, she still blames me for that shit.
Yeah, she does.
I think we know from listening to Prince Oberyn that shit happened from an early age. So she really does legitimately blame Tyrion for everything.
Right.
So, not going to get anything out of there. But then Jamie, because he's almost too noble for his own good, as weird as it says to a guy that the first episode of the show pushed a fucking kid out a window.
Right.
He's almost too noble.
His character has made a turn. At some point, he made a turn.
Yeah. He definitely started seeing the world from a different point of view.
Right.
Because he sets Tyrion free.
He does.
Sets him free. Set him free.
Takes him to a staircase and says, go up to the top of the stairs, knock twice, wait, knock twice again. And
Varys is waiting there to get you to a ship.
So,
but Tyrion just can't leave.
He's like, I have something I have to do first.
He has to confront his dad like one last time.
Right.
It's not enough to actually get out of town. He's got to make sure his dad knows he's getting out of town, and then like rub it in his face.
Right.
So he goes to the Hand of the King's bed chambers.
The chamber of the hand.
And because he knows secret passages in and out from his time sneaking Shay around.
Right.
And he goes to the bed, and who's in the bed?
Bum bum bum.
Apparently, Shay really didn't feel like moving. Like she didn't really want to pack her shit up and go to another address.
No,
So she just like went from one Hand of the King to the next.
Right. So yeah, Shay is in the bed of the Hand of the King.
Yeah, and she's waking up. She's all sleepy. She's like, "Oh, my lion!" And then she sees this Tyrion, and she grabs a knife.
As she should have.
Yeah.
Because from what we see.
Yeah, and they fight, and eventually he chokes her to death with the fucking gold necklace that has like all the hand symbols. The one that like is the symbol of the office.
Oh yeah.
Like that Ned Stark was wearing, and like Tyrion wore. It's like the little gold chain with like little hands on it. So she chokes. He chokes Shay with that because she's wearing it in bed, and that was fucked up. And he starts crying and saying, "I'm sorry," and because he loved her.
He did. He loved Shay. He definitely loved Shay.
And then he thinks about leaving, but then he sees a crossbow on the wall.
And whose crossbow was that, Todd?
It looked like Joffrey's crossbow.
I'm pretty sure it was Joffrey's crossbow.
The one that he was torturing whores with back in the good old days. So he goes down to the bathroom because where else would his dad be that time of night? It's this guy. He's got to do his constitutional.
Right.
So his dad's sitting there on the privy, pants around his ankles, reading a paper. And Tyrion opens the door and his dad's like, "Hello, son." Like he doesn't even.
Who let you out?
Yeah, he doesn't even like act surprised to see him there holding a crossbow. He's like, "Put the crossbow down so we can talk." Like at least let me put my pants up. And Tyrion won't let him. He's all angry and he's grief stricken and probably a little murder crazy.
Yeah, a little bit murder crazy. Just a little bit.
So, and they have an interesting conversation where his dad basically says, "Look, I was never going to execute you. You're my son. I never was going to go through with that. I was going to, rein Cersei in. Like he had all this, speechifying." And then Tyrion's like, "You've wanted me dead my entire life." And Tywin's like, "Yes." And that didn't even really upset Tyrion.
No.
What upset Tyrion was when he started talking about Shay. Tyrion did. He's like, "I just killed her." He's like, "What, the whore?"
He's like, "You will not say that word again."
And of course, you knew he had to because it's Charles Dance, and the way he says "whore" is amazing. That whore.
There's a U in there.
The whore. So we got to hear one last time Charles Dance saying the word "whore," and then boom, he shoots with a crossbow bolt,
in the stomach,
and then takes the time to reload it and shoot him again in the chest.
So now the Hand is dead.
Fucking Tywin's dead, Shay's dead, the Hound is dead, Jojen is dead, half the wildlings are dead.
But the Mountain is not dead.
Well, who knows?
Well, he might not be.
The Mountain is dying.
He's dying.
Oh, Prince Oberyn poisoned his spears, FYI.
Yeah.
So he's very slowly dying, and Pycelle is just going to let him go. But then that other weird fucking dude that was hanging around at Harrenhal they brought back with him.
I can't remember his name either.
Yeah, he knows ways to
the one that got kicked out of Meister School.
Yeah, the one they basically kicked out for being too fucking weird.
Yeah.
He knows how to maybe save him, but he might be different. Which I don't know if that's good or bad.
Right.
Considering he was a gigantic asshole before. Literally, a gigantic
Cersei's just
asshole.
like, well, will he not be strong? He's like, no, he'll be strong. He's like, okay, then do what you can.
Yeah, so shit is good. This season's body count, man. I can't even.
It's been crazy. Yeah. Crazy.
Everybody you love is dying. For sure.
Well, it's George R. R. Martin. I knew that was going to happen.
Yeah.
I was afraid that Tyrion was going to walk up those stairs, knock on the door, and that someone was going to, like, stab him in the face or something. Because they're like, are you relieved? I'm like, not yet, I'm not.
Yeah, like that one Kingsguard guy that hates him is just standing there waiting.
Right.
Hello, Poppet.
I was like, oh god, I'm not seeing anything until the scene is over. I'm not thinking anything until the scene is over. But.
Yeah, although I have to say I'm really interested / confused / apprehensive because the last thing we saw in the episode was Arya sailing away.
Right.
But that's not the last thing that happens in the book.
Right.
The epilogue of the book is the shit gets so crazy real, and then they didn't include it, so I don't know if they're gonna do it. Like if that's gonna be the cold open for next season, maybe.
Right.
Or what they're gonna do with it because it's a massive game changer. So we'll save that. We're gonna do one more. It's not Spoilercast, but I guess
we'll do a wrap up. We're
gonna do a season wrap up plus predictions for season 5. That'll be next week. That'll probably be a full hour. Half to the show, half to the future.
Right.
So I'll talk about it more there. People who've read the book know what I'm talking about with the Frey boy wandering up the hill. So that's all I'll say.
I don't know what that means.
You should read.
I'll see what happens. I always say at the end of every season, I'm just going to catch up where the books are.
And then you never do.
And then I start reading. I'm like, oh, it's so long-winded, and I already know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
For the most part. For
this season especially, you might not, you really do not know what's going to happen in the books because they've actually managed to do the impossible. They've taken the show on its own path, and it's at the same level, if not a little higher even. Because some of the stories they've actually folded together and kind of edited and trimmed and made it almost a little bit more logical in places. So I'm excited.
Yeah,
straight up excited. I hate the fact that I gotta wait another 8-9 months now for the show to start again. Fucking March.
Got a ways to go, my friend. A ways to go.
So that's pretty much gonna wrap it up this week. We're just reviewing this. Next week we're gonna do our big hour long. We're gonna have Lady Taco B with us.
Yes.
So we're gonna review the whole season. Then we're gonna talk about our predictions for the future. Mostly yours and hers. My predictions, not so much because I kind of...
You don't want to spoil anything.
Yeah, I don't want to spoil anything. But I will definitely have a couple of ideas, as far as what's different from the book.
Right.
So I'm really looking forward to kind of getting down the nitty-gritty, getting together some theories and conspiracies and lay them all to bear.
Yeah, definitely. I'm looking forward to hearing what you have in that regard. I have some theories that I'm starting to form as well about what I think what's going to happen. But then again, it's Game of Thrones. It's George R. R. Martin. It could pretty much go anywhere.
Yeah, it mocks our theories. it openly mocks our theories and our feelings. I do want to give a shout out to there is actually George R. R. Martin has his own Twitter account now. Yes, and they've confirmed it now that it is actually him. Yep. So it's a fun follow. Also, a big shout out to the Game of Thrones Wolf Unit. Wolf Unit. Honestly, the greatest unit ever. I don't care what line of work you're in, wherever. If you're part of the Wolf Unit, you're the badass. The Game of Thrones Wolf Unit, you are the badass. Just Wolf Unit in general, man. Anywhere you go, if you see a group of people that call themselves Wolf Unit, you don't fuck with them. Them's the ones that you're not fuck with. So, all right, guys. We do appreciate you listening. Always. We will be back again next week. Go to podcastofdoom.com to find our main podcast along with everything else that we do, Let's Plays included. Our premium content. Buy our t-shirts. They're still on there. You can still get them for a pretty good fee. And they're pretty handsome. They are pretty handsome. But thank you again, guys, for listening. On behalf of the Podcast of Doom and the Game of Thrones Spoilercast, I'm Friar Dan. And I'm that guy, Todd. See you next week, guys. You listen or you die. And then you have bagels.